I'm passing through Italy, which means it's time to visit this place, the Lamborghini Museum, which I've never been to before. Looking forward to jumping in there and seeing what interesting few-off and rare vehicles they have on display. Let's go check it out. Well, this has to be the best part of the museum floor, the few-off series models. Not every single one, but most of them, as far as I can tell, starting with probably my favorite, the Reventon, the final iteration and evolution of the Murcielago line. One of only 20 coupes here. They made an additional, I think, 20 Roadsters, maybe a little bit more on the Roadster count. But this is the original stealth fighter design in its truest form with this matte gray finish on the Reventon. Man, that is just so freaking cool. And then moving into another stealthy look, built off of the Gallardo, the Sesto Alimento for Sixth Element. Just wild styling elements on this, especially on the interior where you have basically like a hollowed out dashboard. 20 of these as well, I think. Or no, actually I think there were 40 Sesto Elementos. But God, that is so cool. I just love the exposed diff back there, smashed in between the diffuser and everything going on at the rear. Look how open everything is, seeing through these carbon fiber bracing points here in the rear valence. And the signature 10 hexagonal holes on the engine cover for the V10 lurking underneath. The racing style fuel filling system there. Amazing. And then one of 3 Veninos, I guess technically 4, because I think there are 3 customer cars and this is the 4th, that was retained by Lamborghini after being revealed at the Geneva Motor Show. That was quite a debut. A little bit more of a polarizing design on this one, in my opinion, and I think most people kind of view this as one of the more odd-looking few-off Lamborghinis, but there's no denying just the continued extravagance and extroverted styling of these things as they kept iterating on these few-off cars. This one, of course, being part of the Aventador line, which you can really only tell from the door design and the shape of the door there coming from the Aventador, but everything else is just a insane aero work and bodywork interpretation of Lamborghini styling at the time, thrown on to the Aventador shell and V12 powertrain underneath. Of course, still delivering 4-wheel drive. You can see the LP750-4 badging there. Always thought the wheels on these were interesting. These multi-piece wheels with these like partial aero discs going around the lip of the wheel. And of course, the interior is all Aventador. But the exterior is anything but. Looks wild. The next one off of the Aventador here, the Centenario. I think they did 40, or maybe, no, 20 coupes, 20 Roadsters of this. I don't remember the exact counts, but they're usually somewhere around there. And again, you can see this one in its debut spec as well. The bare carbon with the yellow accents, the carbon blade wheels, the door again looking, you know, the door in the wing mirror basically, coming straight from the Aventador underneath, but everything else exaggerated to this dramatic wedge shape with these squinty headlights and this sort of interesting looking front end that reminds me of like a cow catcher or something. That's cool. This was built to celebrate Ferruccio Lamborghini's 100th birthday at the time, Lamborghini's gift to itself. And then this is one of my favorite few-off cars, the Sion. I believe this is one of 40, and then they also made, of course, a Roadster variant of this as well. And you had some really interesting aero elements on this one. I love these like wing plates here with the 63. Technically, its full name was the FPK or FKP 63 Sion for Ferdinand Piëch. And I love the debut spec again on this car with the matte or satin sort of golden green, golden tinted like army green color. You can see the tricolore colors there by the engine cover, the gold or bronzish wheels. And I love the taillight design that they started using in this era. This sort of like hexagonal bullet style 3D shaped taillights. And these little cooling elements here behind the engine cover. That is so cool. And then one of the latest cars is the new Countach LPI 800-4, again built off of the Aventador before being replaced by the Revuelto. A bit of a controversial take. Some people love this, some people hate it, because of course it's paying homage to not just Lamborghini's most iconic supercar, but arguably the most iconic supercar of all time, the original Countach. I don't really mind it. They do a lot of these different homage specials across other brands, like Bugatti did with the 110 to pay tribute to the EB110. Porsche brought back the 935 on top of a GT2 RS, so I don't really mind Lamborghini, you know, putting a Countach tribute body kit on an Aventador, which is basically what this is, but some people have opinions on it. I do like how they incorporated some of the original styling points, though, like the oddly shaped wheel well from the original Countach, but they kind of hide it by putting in this carbon arrow blade here in front of the wheel, but visually, with the white bodywork, it looks like that original rear arch on the original Countach that was sort of this odd oblong shape. Of course, you have the massive intake that cuts into the door, the louvered intakes here before the main engine air intake there, the shape of the glass covering on the rear window, of course, above the engine is very reminiscent of the old Countach, as well as just the overall silhouette, of course, with being the primary wedge shape, but of course sort of having one continuous unbroken line for the most part that comes from the front up through the windshield to the roof. Again, sort of the oblong wheel wells in the front as well. And you have, as you can see, those taillights kind of copied over in a way from the Sion. Looking very similar, but a little bit slimmer, and a simpler rear end with the exhaust mounting and the diffuser. But that is the last of the few off cars here at the museum. Of course, they're missing the latest Fenomeno that they revealed at Pebble Beach last year, and just recently revealed a Roadster variant of that. But those are the ones we have here at the museum. An amazing lineup of their few off cars. More amazing Lamborghinis from the past here and the more recent times. My all-time favorite, the Diablo GT, looking amazing in yellow. That is so cool. And then the Mercy SV, of course, the final performance iteration of the Mercy before it gave way to the Aventador. Also amazing. Love the treatment they did on these, just the right amount of aggression. And then, of course, moving into the Gallardo line, we have the Super Trofeo Stradale. So not quite the Superleggera that they also made, or the Super Trofeo, or no, not the Super Trofeo, that was the race car. They had the Squadra Corsa, which was like the road-going version of that race car later. But they also had the Super Trofeo Stradale, which, as it sounds, is just the street version of the Super Trofeo, essentially. And then, of course, here we have a Huracan Performante, and then we have an Aventador Ultime in a very interesting sort of glamour, glitter, blue paint job. And then this is quite interesting, the Mura Concept. This was something they made back in, I think, the late 2000s as a homage, of course, to their original V12 supercar. Never made it to production, but was an interesting design study that they brought out. Pretty cool to see that. I just have to get one more look at the Reventon before I head out, because this is still my favorite of the few off-series Lamborghinis. Everything about it is just so right. I love the lighting detailing here at the back, how you can see the cooling fan through the rear grille, the massive hexagonal exhaust, the step louver glass on the engine cover there, the bat wings that it retains from the Murcielago here, where these active intakes can open or close for increased cooling when the engine needs it. And man, just what a car. Love the wheels as well. These like carbon sort of boomerang looking things that they put on the spokes. I guess they're not necessarily carbon, are they? Yeah, I think they are. It's a very subtle weave there, but man, it's just such an amazing car. And the dash, even though we're not inside the car, it just has such a cool sort of Firejet inspired dash startup screen in the center gauge cluster there when you turn on the car. Again, the lighting up front is also so cool. It's just a timeless few off series design. And then I also missed this Huracan GT3 Evo here behind us, coming off of some of Lamborghini's successes in the IMSA series, where they would race cars at Daytona and other famous circuits. Cool to see that with its racing scars splattered across the front, as you can see. Well, I hope you enjoyed that quick look inside some of the modern vehicles of the Lamborghini Museum. It's really more of a showroom showcase, but it's so cool to see, of course, most of the few off-series vehicles on display up there, of which I will probably never see most of any of those. I've only seen a small handful before. So regardless, amazing visit, and like and subscribe for more content coming soon to the channel. We'll see you next time.